Hi, I'm Khai Lee. People ask me, hey, what do you do for a living? You know, I tell them a couple of things. I am part entrepreneur, part advisor, and part investor. And if people ask me, hey, how'd you get involved in all this stuff? I'm like, I don't know. My pieces just fell together. And that, like, some people have a life plan, some people look back and saw how things all connected. I look back and I see a lot of mosaic tiles, like a lot of different colored pixels just assembling themselves, and then you zoom out and you see, hey, that looks like a cloud, that cloud kind of looks like a dog, or something. Like, it kind of makes sense in some ways, but in a lot of ways it doesn't, but I don't care. So, yeah, so where this is headed, I also don't know, but we'll see. What did I want to be when I was young? Okay, so when I was young, I was inspired by inventors, because I think that's what happens when you borrow the most borrowed books from libraries, right? You got to read about Albert Einstein or Thomas Edison inventing a light bulb. So the earliest inspiration was to be an inventor, naturally. Sure, it beats the hell out of being like a fireman and you know, and other choices. So at age 13, we got plugged into some dial-up internet, and I noticed that what was being created on the internet, the websites which I used, were being created sometimes by people not much older than I was. So at age 15, I eventually met a friend who was actually designing and creating websites. So his name's TJ, right? And so I said, I told TJ, I said, TJ, can you teach me? So with TJ together, we learned, and I learned how to design websites and also to code them so they became live, so deal with servers. So I was building websites at the age of 15. Okay, so what was my first job? Eventually, I decided between management consulting or internet startups, I decided to join the internet startup. So I decided to join this company called Mind Valley. The people who worked there, they brought with them a kind of energy which resonated with the kind of energy I like to bring to the table. And the bosses I had over there, like you would say that like I came from a good home, like they were like parents in a way, right? Because like, your first job, your first bosses, so they kind of leave an impression on you. So I picked up a lot of good habits. Like I probably picked up a lot of crappy ones too, right? But I picked up a lot of good habits, and that prepared me a lot for the journey that was to come. Like when you work very closely with a founder, right? They're a different breed of animal. They're like obsessed. They're super motivated, and they bring with them some kind of weirdness that you don't normally come across in many of the friends or people that you would grow up with. So at that time as a fresh grad, I wasn't rushing to get a job. I took time off to experiment with a lot of my interests. So advice for young people sort of pursuing their careers: experiment a lot. If you had the good fortune of experimenting through your teenage years and as a kid, like, good on you. Like, if you have not experimented enough with the kind of things you think you could do well in, or things that you might be passionate about, then do it now. Because it's through these experiments that you'll find out stuff which you could be really good at, things that deliver a lot of value to people, you discover a lot of your strengths. So the more you experiment, the more you get to identify successes early on. And those successes would guide you on what you want to double down on, what you want to constantly reinvest more in. So experiment tons. I grew up as a jack of all trades. I was generally good at all kinds of things, right? And I was never great at anything. I was never number one at anything. Like, I've tried tons of stuff: basketball, football, running, well, you name it, okay, I've tried it, right? I'm never number one. It's always some dude that's with some girl or whatever that's totally way better than I am. One important thing though is that I think as far as like being competitive is concerned for the future, it's not as much about being good at one thing, but the ability to cross-pollinate or synergize, right? Being good at two things. So for example, Scott Adams of Dilbert, right? He, in one of his blog posts, he said that he was never good at anything, but he was generally okay in being funny, and is generally okay in drawing, right? So his drawing is not fantastic, right? The Dilbert comics is not fantastic artwork. and his humor is not super fantastic, but because you've got like the combination of his style of office humor and his simple drawings, Dilbert was born. And he became so good as that comic artist in that niche. So his blog post, his advice was, why don't you be good, like generally good at 2 or 3 things, and you fuse them together. Suddenly you're the only person in the world who has that combination. It's totally unique, and that's your advantage. So for me, what has worked for me is that looking out for what works, looking out for successes, and doing more of what succeeds, right? And that has brought me like pretty far because of that. So stuff which I've learned from my failures, not much, just don't do it. That's it. Sorry, like no big gems there. Okay, I'm being totally honest about making mistakes and bouncing back, okay? Because I don't view my mistakes with such a serious light or saying something like good or bad, to me life is not about good or bad, but a series of course corrections. So it's not about like labeling something as positive and negative and attaching positive emotions and negative emotions. Oh, I'm feeling so happy and great because everything's going well. Oh, things are not going well, I'm so unhappy. Like, doesn't matter to me. You know, like I know that's what I need to do, and they're like, I'm off center, I'm just taking course corrections. And even though I'm on course, it's not like I'm totally elated that I'm on course, because you know, it is what it is. It's just course corrections. So that has helped me bounce back from failures, because if something's going off track, it's like badly off track, I just get it on track, because it's off track or on track. It's not good or bad, failure or success. You know, that's not as constructive to me. So yeah, so that helps me.